Well, folks, it's that time again. Another US presidential election is upon us. This year, we'll break down the candidates, their platforms, and their plans. First up, the economy. Who doesn't love a good spreadsheet? Then there's foreign policy. America can't resist sticking its nose in. And of course, climate change. Will we live in a Mad Max style wasteland? So buckle up, buttercups. At least we're in this together, right? Let's start with the incumbent, shall we? You know him, you might love him. He's the guy who's been running the show for the past 4 years. His hair maybe a little grayer, his wrinkles a little deeper, but his message remains the same. Make America, insert vague, patriotic sounding phrase here, again. This candidate has a long and storied history in politics, having served in insert previous political positions here. He's known for his insert positive personality traits here, demeanor, and his ability to connect with insert target demographic here. Of course, no politician is without their critics, and this candidate has certainly had his fair share of controversies. But love him or hate him, there's no denying that he's a force to be reckoned with. His key achievements during his time in office include insert list of accomplishments here. He's also made significant strides in insert areas of progress here. However, his opponents argue that he's fallen short on his promises to insert unfulfilled campaign promises here. Only time will tell if he'll be able to secure another 4 years in the Oval Office, but one thing's for sure, he's not going down without a fight. On the other side of the ring, we have the challenger. A fresh face with fresh ideas, or so they'd have you believe. They're here to shake things up, to drain the swamp, or at least give it a good power washing, and to restore America to its former glory, whatever that means. This candidate is relatively new to the national political scene, having previously served as in a insert previous political positions here. They're running on a platform of insert key campaign promises here. And they've managed to capture the attention of voters who are looking for a change. They're known for their insert positive personality traits here, approach, and their ability to connect with insert target demographic here. However, their critics argue that they lack the experience necessary to lead the country, and they point to their insert controversial past decisions or statements here as evidence. Whether they can actually defeat the incumbent remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, they're bringing a much needed dose of energy to the race. Let's talk about money, shall we? Specifically, your money. The incumbent promises to keep taxes low, especially for the wealthy. The challenger wants to raise taxes on the wealthy to fund social programs and invest in infrastructure. It's a classic battle of trickle-down versus trickle-up. The incumbent is all about America first, while the challenger promises fairer trade deals for American workers. Section 5, Foreign Policy, Across the Pond and Beyond. Now, let's talk about America's favorite pastime, meddling in other countries' affairs. The incumbent's foreign policy can best be described as unpredictable, which is a diplomatic way of saying completely bonkers. He's alienated allies, cozied up to dictators, and generally made the world a more chaotic place. But hey, at least he's entertaining, right? The challenger, on the other hand, promises to restore America's standing in the world and rebuild relationships with allies. They believe in diplomacy and multilateralism, which are basically dirty words to the incumbent. They also want to end America's forever wars, which is a noble goal, but also easier said than done. Then there's the issue of Russia, which is always a good time. The incumbent seems to have a bit of a man crush on Vladimir Putin, which is concerning to say the least. The challenger, on the other hand, sees Russia as a threat and promises to stand up to their aggression. So basically, it's a choice between appeasement and confrontation. Choose wisely, America. Section 6. Climate change. A hot button issue. Climate change. The existential threat that we're all just trying to ignore while we still can. The incumbent's stance on climate change can best be described as denial, which is a fancy way of saying he thinks it's a hoax perpetrated by the Chinese. He's rolled back environmental regulations, pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement, and generally done everything in his power to ensure that the planet becomes an uninhabitable wasteland in our lifetime. Thanks, Yungadi. The challenger, on the other hand, actually believes in science, which is a refreshing change of pace. They have a plan to combat climate change by investing in renewable energy, reducing carbon emissions, and rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement. They argue that this will create jobs, save the planet, and make America a leader in the fight against climate change. The incumbent, meanwhile, is probably too busy tweeting about how windmills cause cancer to even listen. Section 7. Public Health, a Dose of Reality. Healthcare in America is a mess. It's expensive, it's complicated, and it's often ineffective. The incumbent solution: repeal and replace Obamacare, which he's been promising to do for years but hasn't actually managed to accomplish. He claims that his plan will provide better coverage at a lower cost, but most experts agree that it will actually result in millions of people losing their health insurance. But hey, at least the wealthy will get a tax cut, right? The challenger, on the other hand, wants to expand access to affordable healthcare by strengthening Obamacare and creating a public option. They argue that healthcare is a right, not a privilege, and that everyone should have access to quality care regardless of their income. The incumbent, meanwhile, probably thinks that pre-existing condition is just a fancy way of saying you're not healthy enough to deserve health care. Section 8. Security matters, safe and sound. In today's world, security is more important than ever. The incumbent's approach to security can best be described as militaristic, which is a fancy way of saying he really likes guns. He's increased military spending, engaged in saber rattling with foreign adversaries, and generally made the world a more dangerous place. But hey, at least the military-industrial complex is happy, right? The challenger, on the other hand, believes in a more nuanced approach to security, one that emphasizes diplomacy and multilateralism over military force. They want to reduce military spending, invest in diplomacy, and work with allies to address global threats. They argue that this is the best way to keep America safe in the 21st century. The incumbent, meanwhile, is probably too busy watching Fox News and tweeting about how we need to nuke insert country he doesn't like to even listen. Section 9. Past as prologue. Decisions. They say that past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. So, what can we learn from the candidates' past decisions? The incumbent has a long history of making impulsive, self-serving decisions that often backfire. He's also shown a disregard for the rule of law and a willingness to abuse his power. So, yeah, not great. The challenger, on the other hand, has a more limited track record, but what we do know is generally positive. They've shown a willingness to compromise, a commitment to public service, and a respect for the democratic process. Of course, that doesn't mean they'll be a perfect president, but it does suggest that they're at least capable of making rational decisions. Section 10. The future awaits what could be. So, what does the future hold? If the incumbent is re-elected, we can expect more of the same: chaos, division, and the steady erosion of democratic norms. The economy might do okay, at least for the wealthy, but the environment will continue to deteriorate, and America's standing in the world will continue to decline. If the challenger is elected, we can expect a more stable and predictable presidency, but also one that is likely to face significant opposition from the incumbent's party. They'll likely make progress on issues like climate change and healthcare, but they'll also face challenges in areas like foreign policy and the economy. Section 11, conclusion: your vote, your voice. So, there you have it. The choice is yours, America. Do you want 4 more years of the same, or are you ready for a change? It's a big decision, and one that will have far-reaching consequences. So, do your research, get informed, and most importantly, vote. Because in a democracy, your voice matters. Unless, of course, you're part of the insert marginalized group here community, in which case your vote might be suppressed, gerrymandered, or otherwise rendered meaningless. But hey, at least we're not a dictatorship, right? Right? Well, that's all for today. I hope you found this video useful so that you can draw your own conclusions. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the Wiswell capital bell to continue creating interesting content.